Good afternoon, everyone. As David said, I'm Louise Southern, the Associate Clinical Director, and it's just my great pleasure to be able to introduce Mary Janka, who is an autistic educator. And Mary, of course, is going to talk more about herself. But we've just been really honored to be able to collaborate with Mary on a number of projects over the years, and more recently in a number of ways through Mary's support in developing webinars and delivering webinars. Mary is a wonderful author of many blogs for the Autism Society of North Carolina, and she's also been developing social narratives or social stories for the Autism Society that we are publishing on our website, among other resources and tools. So we are grateful for Mary's collaboration, and thank you for being here. Mary, take it away.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm going to use mostly a PowerPoint to help with keeping things organized. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the PowerPoint, and then all of the things like introductions and the purpose is going to be guided with that. So just 1 minute, I'm going to share my screen. And thank you all for being here. Okay, so thank you. The name of the webinar is Slow and Steady Wins the Race on Pursuing, Pushing Through, and Making It. And this idea was, I guess, influenced by personal experiences being on the spectrum, working with people on the spectrum, reading about it, learning about it, studying it. There we go. So just a little bit about me. Growing up, I was known to make a lot of reckless decisions. I traveled a lot to escape issues I was facing with all sorts of things. With life in general. And I didn't get diagnosed until I was 33, and nobody even knew. They just thought there were all these other issues. I actually figured out when I was in graduate school for special ed, emotional behavioral disorders, read about it, volunteered for Teach, and was able to get a full 2-day full-on diagnosis. I had a lot of trouble making friends. I could not learn at the same pace as my peers, which is very frustrating because people would be in a classroom and my mind would be all over the place. And then suddenly I would fixate on something and my brain would go really fast. I also struggled financially after college. I had a lot of student loans. I majored in film. It was a very good school, USC, Southern Cal. But I didn't know that you need really good social skills. Didn't even know I had bad social skills to get a good job. I fumbled through years, fumbling through jobs because there's all these hidden rules. I didn't know how to navigate them. And I was always very frustrated. And I also have had a lot of difficulty with romantic pursuits. So starting to grow, I got help from Teach. They have job coaches there who, when you get into the system, you can go and they'll work with you. And I was talking out like things I struggled with understanding what people intended to say when they said it, because people would always disguise. If they're frustrated with you, they'd say, I think you should, or maybe, and I just need to be told. So I got help from them, and also therapists who specialize in autism. I read a lot of self-help books. I studied autism in graduate school, and I've taught teenagers with autism. And the photo below is actually at a Lionheart Academy in Greensboro. And this is like one of their first years there. This is a clip from a PBS documentary. They did a feature on people on the spectrum in North Carolina. And they're like, oh, here's somebody who teaches people on the spectrum. So that's just a screen grab. Then more growth came out of making really small steps. So instead of just trying to make a big leap towards something, which is a very common thing to do when one's really frustrated, they're just like, I'm just going to drop everything and quit or change. I had to learn to make really small steps. A relationship started getting healthier. My work performance reviews now are very high, and I'm getting into a lot of hobbies. And this picture below, speaking of the Raleigh Comic-Con, this is actually at a show in Winston. I'm involved with comedy, and I'm in the sweatshirt. And this was on Star Wars Day, May the 4th, and very nerdy. And some of those people in the picture came to do stand-up. The Darth Vader was stand-up, and the Wookiee was just in the audience. But they're friends of mine, and they're all from a comedy club I participated in. I'll tell you more about that later. More about me. I've taught over 24 years. My bachelor's was in film and anthropology. areas that are hard to get jobs in sometimes. My master's was in special ed. I have multiple teaching certifications just because I've been at different places where they asked me to go get certified. I had to study content on my own, like high school history, as if I majored in it. And that may be a strength of having autism, is to be able to hyper focus. But a benefit is I can pick a school and teach it and be a regular ed teacher. So during the day, I teach regular ed. Last year, I taught pre-calculus. This year, I'm teaching algebra and psychology. And evenings and weekends, I coach and tutor autistic individuals. Over time, what helped me grow is accepting I'm different and learning about autism. It's an ongoing process. Like, I'm blessed that I work in an area with a diverse crowd of folks. I'm actually the teacher they have with autism. But knowing more about me, being vulnerable, teaching others, and just also listening to others too, it's been really, really helpful with just making friends and being open. I learn from mistakes, and I always try to remind myself of my strengths. I also try to think about others because, I mean, we on the spectrum have a lot of challenges, but so many people have challenges, and it's hard to get out of my head and think that, especially with all the stuff TikTok tells me and books and everything. Try to be persistent, and it's really hard at times, and remembering to take breaks. So the relation of this whole thing to the turtle and the hare is that, turtle and the hare, also called tortoise and the hare, turtle and the rabbit, it's a Aesop fable, story. He wrote children's stories with animals often, and the endings of the stories told a lesson. Many stories were about making good choices, and this story's lesson is slow and steady wins the race. So the comparison with being on the spectrum or having any other sort of challenge, and anyone can have a challenge, is the hare bullied the turtle for being slow. The turtle challenged with a race. The hare had plenty of chances to get ahead. He made bad choices by goofing off because it was easy for him. The turtle could have chosen to give up, but persisted. The turtle, or the tortoise, wins by staying on target. It relates to autism. Like, the turtle's like the autistic person, the hare is like the neurotypical person. Generalization, it can vary, can relate to anybody. My theory is people with autism can take longer to achieve goals due to all sorts of factors. Like the hare, NT people can appear to waste time, and to succeed, focus on what is ahead. Persistence can overcome, maybe not all things, but most things. So I've got some examples of just famous turtles out there, and three of them are, well, two are thought to have autism. One has autism, and this one does not have autism, but he's quirky, so maybe he did. But Albert Einstein, I could show my notes. It actually wasn't math that he struggled with. That's a theory. That's a theory. It's actually like biological sciences he struggled with, and he had to fight to get his high school diploma and get into college. And it took a long time for him to get recognized. He started off working at the patent office for Washington, D.C., and eventually in his 30s, I believe, he started publishing his papers, like on theory of relativity and such. Benjamin Banneker invented, oh man, I need to see, let's see. I can't see my notes, but I remember. He invented at the age of 50 a means of determining when the next solar eclipse was going to happen. So he was a mathematician. And Susan Boyle, I'll show you in a minute, a clip of when her turtle moment came to light. And Cliff Young was an Australian sheep herder who would, on his own, run for days trying to rear up his sheep. But anyway, he joined an ultra marathon where he ran for days, and he joined at the age of 61, ran in boots, and was really slow. And other racers kind of thought he was hilarious because he's really, really slow, but because he's used to running like forever, night and day, chasing a sheep. he was able to keep running while they had to sleep during the night, and he got ahead of them, ended up winning at a slow pace. And actually now his style of racing, which is like slow and steady, a lot of ultra marathoners use. So I wanted to show you a clip from Susan Boyle when her turtle self kind of won the race. So I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to open up a new screen with her on it. And I don't know if I'll show, I think I have time to show the whole thing. We'll see.
Hi, what's your name, darling?
My name is Susan Boyle.
Okay, Susan, where are you from?
I am from Brightwood near Bathgate, West Lothian.
It's a big town.
It's a sort of collection of, villages. What do you think, dear?
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47,
I'm going to pause it for a minute.
and that's just one side of me.
So if y'all like notice his face and the way she's acting, like this is before she came out about having autism, but you can see just kind of, it's a little awkward. It's awkward. People are like, what? And it's a bit like the turtle and the hare, where the hare is like making fun of the turtle, like, you ain't got nothing, this will not happen. So let's just keep watching. It's a bit uncomfortable for a while, and then magic's gonna happen.
Me.
Okay, what's the dream?
I'm trying to be a professional singer.
And why hasn't it worked out so far, Susan?
I've never been given the chance before, but here's hoping it'll change.
Okay, and who would you like to be as successful as?
Elaine Page.
Elaine
something
Page.
like
What are you going to sing tonight?
that. I'm going to sing I Dreamed a Dream from the Miserables.
Okay.
Big song.
Yeah? Yes.
I'm not gonna play the whole thing this time. Is that a good idea?
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
You just didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiven.
Now I'm gonna shuttle ahead just to be mindful of everyone's time. I really recommend you look this up, but it's a lot of touching moments, and let's see. Here we go.
I dream.
Hello.
Hey, come back here.
Yes.
Can't read social cues too well.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. Piers.
Without a doubt, that was the biggest surprise I have had in 3 years on this show. When you stood there with that cheeky grin and said, I want to be like Elaine Page, everyone was laughing at you. No one is laughing now. That was stunning, an incredible performance. Amazing. I'm reeling from shock about you two, but
I am
Can't
so
believe it.
thrilled because I know that everybody was against you. I honestly think that we were all being very cynical, and I think that's the biggest wake-up call ever. And I just want to say that it was a complete privilege listening to that. It was brilliant.
Susan, I knew the minute you walked out
Oh, Simon!
on that stage that we were going to hear something extraordinary, and I was right.
I'm gonna pause it.
not a lot of touch.
Susan, you are a little tiger, aren't you? Okay, stop share. Okay, so compare back actually to Susan Boyle a little bit. So what happened with her, and so this happened in 2009. So some people may have seen this, remember this. I remember this when it came out. People got so excited about it. They forgot that kind of she needed to go at turtle pace. and just kind of whisked her around like a hare. And you know, she was being given all these albums to do, and she was being whisked along on flights to go perform all over the place. And she had a few meltdowns, and it hadn't come out yet that she had autism. And so she had to stop for a while and just relax, and took a job doing retail as a manager, and kind of, you know, people kind of started to work with her and realize, you know, she's worked really hard, but, you know, she just needs to take her time, and she's doing albums again. And the story from her background is she actually was somebody who, yeah, she was unemployed, and she was on sort of like government welfare, like here in the States, some adults are on the innovations waiver. And, you know, she had some cats, and like was just known like to sing in her church. So pretty humble. So this was like a huge story. So for us turtles, it can seem like people seem to whiz ahead of us, and it's very hard to read nonverbal cues. We can struggle with having executive functioning, such as staying organized. You know, it can happen when we focus on a thing, or we just need time to relax, or we just, you know, just need to stop what we're doing if things don't get put away or organized. We can get stuck behind rule following, like if we're in a group setting and we have a rule to follow, some people may choose not to follow the rules, and it can upset us and we get stuck. And if we're in an area where there's a lot of sensory things going on, such as like I work at a school, and whenever there's a fire alarm, I shut down. I have to like cover my ears, even though I still do my job. I hustle my students along. I have to acknowledge that I get stressed, and I have to tell a coworker. And we also need time to recharge. For example, when I go home, from working during the day, I have to take like a 30-minute nap just to shut down, and I'm ready to go about my day. So here's another example of the runner. The 61-year-old Australian runner is an example of going at different speeds to progress. He jogged in those boots for the marathon. That's him in the marathon, and he went very slow. But what he did is he, instead of giving up, he persisted. And any sort of delay we have could be to a variety of reasons. So either if we just keep going at something instead of giving up, we'll make it, we'll meet our goal, but at least we get better. And our having a delay with any sort of goal can make an experience richer, because we get to stop and in a way smell the roses, get to enjoy all experiences. And there's a lot of strengths in having hyper focus and determination. So sometimes we'll actually speed up so much because of hyper focus that will surpass the rabbits around us. So areas that can be areas of challenge are friendships, relationships, getting a job, our hobbies and interests, and having downtime. I've definitely experienced issues with all of these, especially during the summer as a working teacher when there's time off. Students also can struggle a lot with summer. Sorry. They can struggle a lot with the summer without having a routine. So a happy medium with all the struggles is to figure out what are our abilities, what are our goals, what progress can we make, and what gifts can we provide in an allotted time. So ways to cope and move faster toward our goals. This is often used too with students and adults who have ADHD, is to practice a goal using a timer. Anything from an egg timer to a timer you use on your phone. Reward yourself for making a goal. For example, David, Louise, and I were talking about getting food after this, and I'm going to reward myself today by getting something good to eat. I'm not really sure yet what's going to be. Accepting bad days and moments. Something I've seen with my students on the spectrum, I've done it too, but I didn't realize I did this, is say they do something wrong, they make someone unhappy. They won't be like, oh, I'm sorry, move on. They'll kind of shut down and start kind of beating themselves up and wanting to just give up for the rest of the day. I've done this too. It's very hard to accept that and know that it's normal, it's human, and just accept it, move on. Avoid comparing to others is really, really hard. I have a hard time with this because people my age may have all these things I don't have, but I have other things they cannot do. A lot of it just from having struggles and pushing ahead. Have checklists. You can have this by like every day having a list of things you want to get accomplished or what you need to do at work. And then if you have a person you can report to, like someone at work or a friend that you can talk to, about your progress and where you've been. They can also be real and give you reminders of like, I mean, remember when you did it last time? Did that work? Did that not? And then, you know, kind of keep you in check. I have some issues with resources out there, just from searching around. So I put up some examples, like on the left-hand side, this is the social thinking program. This is right here, a book, it's called an anecdotal story, meaning that like the person writes their own story, their experience, and he's on the spectrum, John Elder Robinson. And here's a fictional version of someone who's kind of spectrum-y, but they don't actually say is Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. And he's like all, you know, fun is made from all the quirky little things he does, and he dresses like a kid. And then like TikTok will tell us, you know, anyone can put up something on TikTok and then tell you like how it is, and you could like believe it. So the issues I have is that, like, for example, this book on the left, this is a very popular curriculum used, but it's targeted toward kids. And this writer, Michelle Garcia Winter, does have a few things for adults, like I have a couple of the books, but most of the focus is on kids. And so we adults were like, where do we go? Like, you know, Sheldon doesn't reflect me. John Elder Robinson, he's mechanically minded, I'm not. And he designs the pyrotechnics, like the use of fire for the band Kiss in the 80s. And, you know, that's how he is, but that's not me. And that's not a lot of us. Also, a lot of things used for autism, like labels and purpose, they're outdated, like the puzzle piece on the left. Well, some people like it, some people do not, because they feel like the idea of a puzzle means we are puzzling instead of just accept us as we are, and puzzling may not seem positive. So these are just some of the issues. And then also with friendships, we may have heard that whether autistics tell each other this, like on Facebook, I see this, or told, or moms will set up their adult kids with autism to meet up with other people with autism, and they may not really have the same interests. That actually, it's right. I recommend that you have a network of autistic and non-autistic people, just because reality and the real world is a diversity of people. And it's perfectly okay to have both friends and acquaintances and just people you talk to for a minute and leave, all for different purposes. It doesn't have to be only one thing, like video games. You can connect through hobbies, skills, faiths, duties. And then what's a really huge thing to do is, even if you join, don't necessarily gain for you, like don't go for the purpose of you getting friends, but go there for the purpose of being friends for other people. That seems to be the key I found to getting friends, and working on listening and having empathy for others. Empathy can be pretty hard. Suggestions to you on how to get ahead is be mindful of what we present of ourselves in public versus in private. Like, how do we handle our stress? When I worked at the autism school, like during assemblies, I would see kids completely unaware or not even thinking that other people could see them. And they would do all sorts of things, like pick their noses or like rock. And here's an example of Kate Middleton, you know, Duchess of York, I believe, married to Prince William, and she's like biting her nails, unaware that the media is getting it. And then here's one of someone going out in their pajamas, like both not what we should be doing. How do we adapt like our stress so that we can manage it out in public and don't get attention like Kate Middleton? Why do we stim and script? Like, think about that, and what are ways we can handle those again at home and in public? And then how to compromise our stress management based on who we're around, because how we act does affect other people just like other people affect us. Like, and there are a lot of the resources out there for people on the spectrum are all about how it affects the person on the spectrum, but in turn we also affect other people. And the way to make friends and get people to like us is to be mindful of how we can help them, how we affect them. And it's true, like NT people can be poor role models, that they may not always be like the ones to look up to, and that's okay. Like, everybody's human, everyone makes mistakes. What I do for public versus private is I will vent to others. Gotta be careful of this, because sometimes people just don't want to hear stuff anymore because they're human. They get hearing venting all the time is tiresome. I'll stim on my phone, like I will look at pictures and all sorts of junk on my phone. In my car, I can like let it out. I may by myself script like to myself, kind of like not really talk, but like express, act out what I experienced in my day. When I get home, I take a nap. I exercise every day to stay calm. I have to take medication. I'm not saying one should or shouldn't. It just works for some, doesn't work for others. And I have therapy. And what really helps is to help others on the spectrum too. Having been a teacher for a while, having trained, studied special ed and taught kids on the spectrum, I continue to do it because it's really, really helpful to help others. Issues one can have at work is unconsciously drawing attention to oneself. An example could be somebody at a board meeting, a meeting of a bunch of coworkers, and one is the person who keeps raising their hand, keeps asking questions and not noticing other people are looking irritated or bored. They want it to move on. They may not know it. Or somebody that keeps walking around because they need to get their energy out. But if it's around other people, they'll be distracted. Being easily irritable with problems, like things going on at work, people can get used to knowing that there are always issues at every job. There are always things that go not as they're supposed to. Sometimes we have to look the other way when something isn't done right. But someone on the spectrum can be very bothered by any sort of rule breaking and just kind of shut down or need to tell someone about it or go complain to the boss. And I have a big problem with that. Definitely. That will really bother me. Misunderstanding nonverbal cues. Coworkers can be having a bad day and like walk around with a big old frown on their face, but it's not toward anybody. They're just, something could have happened on their way in, but not understanding it. Somebody could get anxious, freak out, need to go talk to their boss, or they may not know that they may not know what they're doing is affecting other people. Not picking up hidden rules. Sometimes workplaces will have like a clique. Not that cliques are good or bad. Like a clique is a group of people that gravitate together due to like interests or similar issues going on in their lives, or they may have a lot of similarities. And someone may say, oh, these people look nice, I'm going to go up to them and talk. And that may not be wanted, and that's okay. But we may be taught like everyone should be my friend if I'm friendly, but that doesn't always work. So that could be a hidden rule. Someone could get like fired even because their communication skills are not good, or they're just rubbing people the wrong way. And that's okay. It happens, because the biggest thing about a work situation is that everyone needs to feel comfortable with each other. Struggle with changes in routines, a big one. And some work environments are very structured. A very good work environment is one where a person on the spectrum has some sort of sense of control and knowing what's going on in the day. So what can be difficult is if things get changed up, it can be very stressful. I myself have struggled with this in teaching jobs where, the school can't help it, but they have to change up location we're going to be teaching in like last minute. And if I'm in a position where I have to be in control of a classroom of 20 or 30 kids and be able to adapt to all their needs, daily personality challenges and all that stuff, and then on top of it, adapt to a new room and being able to manage, I have a tough time. So again, changes in routine can be different everywhere. So I guess a person who works as a firefighter, that could be very hard because you can get called at any hour and be expected to perform for any length of time. Not initiating to help others or start projects, that can irritate people a lot when they see someone just kind of sitting at their desk, not doing anything, looking like they're shuffling papers. But for that person shuffling papers, they may be thinking, the autistic person will say, they may be thinking that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're just haven't been told to do anything. But a lot of job situations, people are expected to kind of understand what they need to be doing, which is very hard. And that's why sometimes getting a job coach in a situation like that is helpful, because a job coach can notice things that need to be done a person on the spectrum may not notice, and tell them this needs to be done. Or they can talk to the boss and try to get some sort of communication. Time management can be hard if there's like a bunch of tasks and one task just needs a lot of time. It could take forever to get it done, or it could be done really quickly, and the person could get their everything on their list done that day at work and kind of be sitting around the rest of the day like, I'm done, what's next to do? And then maybe irritate the boss or other coworkers. They may come across as like bragging, and they may come across as lazy, and it's not intentional. It's just that it takes some different lengths of time to get something done. And also boredom can be a huge thing. Sometimes people get bored with their jobs and like end up quitting versus staying and having that job security of a steady paycheck. And then that can be hard because they can be out of money. So how do I handle work? I go to a therapist. I've been going to her for like 15 years. I haven't needed to go to her quite as much. Because she's done a lot of really good work. But it's good to get therapy with somebody that understands autism. I've also had job counseling with teach and vocational rehabilitation. I have found people at work to talk to, which is very lucky. I've had to accept myself for fumbling a lot. I have taken mental health days off. I still do that. And I'm actually open with my bosses about that. And if I need to get a note, I'll get a note. And again, I'm very lucky for that. But I guess I don't know too, if it's my age, being almost 47, that there is something about getting middle-aged, or just when I've been through a lot, I would say, I feel like I've been through a lot, where you just are like, I'm doing my best. So I'm just gonna be honest. Again, you make the call on what you're comfortable with. But if sometimes my anxiety will build up so high that I just have to take a day off and just kind of shut down for a day, and then come back and everything's fine. And my anxiety make it high if there's just too many of the stresses at work that are hard for an autistic person. I'm continually growing my skills. I take improv classes, which is huge, and I'd recommend anyone take improv, because improv, it's a type of acting and comedy performance where you're with a group of people and you're put up with anybody, and you have to just create a scene together. You have to initiate, like start yourself, which is hard. Create a character, which is hard. You have to look someone in the eye if you can, which is crazy hard. You have to hear what they say, and take what they say and respond appropriately as your character, as their character, in a scene you make up together. Crazy hard for someone on the spectrum. I do it because it feels like getting intense exercise in an area of my brain that really struggles. Collaboration, reading people, responding appropriately. And then when I get home, I take a nap. So how to improve work? Ideas are you can ask questions, you can write down answers, you can maintain an organizational system. Got cut off. Meet expectations of your job. You can watch and listen to what other people do. You can make yourself more presentable. I struggle with my hair a lot. My hair I'll go into work and my hair just looks crazy. I got to work on that. Have a high skill set. So always work on yourself and see what you can do to make yourself more marketable. So you have both the confidence behind you that you know you can get another job if it's not comfortable, you can get a better job, and your employers know that too, and they want to keep you. That feels really good. And that confidence will help you a lot. This is a quick drawing I did last year during Inktober. And it's about my hygiene when I was a kid. And the reason why I did it is because, well, it was just for that, but it looked like it looked good with this, because issues with relationships people in the spectrum can have is being overly focused on oneself. For example, say a female on the spectrum has a boyfriend who's not on the spectrum, and she's used to seeing YouTube videos about autism and TikTok videos, and her mom talks to her about her autism. I'm talking about myself here. And then she's used to just telling the other person, me, hear my problems, trying to work this out. It can get very tiresome. And the other person can feel like not listened to. And really a relationship is give and take. So it's better to focus on the other person, and it can actually help you a lot if you're not thinking about yourself. Struggling with listening is very hard. especially with those of us like me who get in our heads a lot and kind of daydream or can't stay focused. I do that a lot. Having difficulty with adapting and being flexible. If, say, someone I'm dating, well, I was married before, they're like, let's go do this. And I will freeze, I'll shut down, I'll get an attitude, I'll get mad. I won't know I'm doing this. So I'm not trying to be judgy, but it can be hard for the other person who wants to be just spontaneous and have a little fun. Even going somewhere new, it takes a while. I think when I went to Disney World recently, I probably had 2 meltdowns just because it was so intense. Reading nonverbal cues is hard. So say someone you're dating or a friend is bored and you're just talking. And I do this. You may not know they're bored. They might be trying to be polite, but they're starting to fidget and you don't get it. You keep talking. Now, after a while, they're not going to want to be around you. And that's understandable because we don't like it either when someone talks on and about themselves. Hygiene and appearance can be tough, especially with all this stuff on social media now about body positivity and going out as you are and going shopping in your pajamas and why I do our hair and why people should accept me as I am. And the new thing with dating of the past couple of years is to go to your first date in your sweatpants. And really, like, would you want that? Or would you want someone who respects you enough that they will try to make themselves presentable because it shows that they respect you? And so this picture is like, when I was a little kid, I would never brush my hair. My mom called it a rat's nest. And I was just daydreaming. I'd be like, no, I'm not brushing my hair. And some young adults I work with on the spectrum, we joke sometimes about our hair because my hair will look bad and their hair will look bad, and we just like laugh about it, but really I gotta work on it. Another one is low self-esteem. Sometimes when our self-esteem is really low, it can damage a relationship because we'll start perceiving things like the other person doesn't like us, and just fights can happen. It can be bad. So what I recommend is to take things slow. Oh, this is Pepe Le Pew, and he's not taking things slow. He's just macking on this, really a cat. And the whole story is like, he's a skunk. He thinks this female cat's a skunk too. She does not like him, but he doesn't care, or he doesn't notice. And he's just like constantly chasing her. She's running off. We don't want that to be our life. It's best to be friends before romance starts. And the problem with like using things like dating apps is it's so like romance driven that people already have an agenda and you don't get to really be yourself. And I've had a lot of trouble with this, where maybe I'll stuff about me will check off these boxes like, oh, I'm in shape, I have a job, but I have autism. And then that's been a problem because people are like, because they don't really know. It's better to be friends first. And then you can find people that actually have, you'll have things in common besides, oh, let's go out to eat together. Oh, you know, you may both like going to GalaxyCon, for example. If they're not interested in you, that's okay. Just leave them alone. It's hard because it's common to obsess about something we can't have, but just let it be. And if you're not interested, let them be, and that's okay. It's mostly about being able to trust each other and having stability. If you're confused about anything they're doing or saying, just ask. Don't assume. Always keep your guard up for a while, because you never know if somebody can tell you have challenges socially and then try to take advantage of that. That I have experienced myself, and it's bad. So just always just take your time and keep your guard up. Introduce families so people can get to know each other. And if you make mistakes, you can make it up or just move on to the next person. Hobbies. If you want to get into something new, it can be kind of scary. Checking my time here. It can be kind of scary, but it's good to go and maybe take someone with you and be ready to try it multiple times if you need to. Like if you go and you feel like you failed, go again, or take a break and go again. If you have a meltdown, oh well, you know, it's okay. Just tell whoever you have autism and then try it again. I think when I took Krav Maga for the first time, I had a meltdown because they had the way they handled it. They were like, okay, just punch at each other. And it just reminded me of something. They were freaked out, but oh well. It's not recommended, but it's good to go with low expectations. Don't just try to chill and just experience it, or at least go to the location of the hobby and look around, go a few times, try to see if you can talk to people. An example is I've done improv. I've been doing it for like 8 years, but I'm very, very slow at it compared to others. Very slow, and I have to be okay with that. Try a variety of hobbies. Like here I have like the gym, I have like reading books. It's okay to make mistakes. Whoops. Just be mindful of others. Try not to impede on anyone. If you're having a tough time, try to go step away and handle it quietly instead of like shutting down a class or shutting down anything. It's okay if you are having a hard time. It's okay to handle it away from other people. It's best to let people still be and respect them so that they can respect you back if you need help, which I have been very fortunate with my improv troupe. I can be pretty open if I'm having a tough time and they check on me. It's pretty awesome. And when you participate, do so with responsibility. You know, always be mindful if you need to go home at a certain time to go to sleep. Some people I know do stand-up comedy, the hours go really late, and that's tough to do if you have to be at work early. To meet success day by day, it's really, really good to have some sort of discipline, some sort of routine. When you start and stop, to maintain your health and how intense you're going to be about your work. Make sure you take breaks, reward yourself, reflect on what you did right, what you want to improve, and then adapt to that. What are you going to do differently next? So a turtle solution, bring this back to turtle in the hair, is to practice, practice, practice. Practice as much as you can, as long as you need to. If you get to where you want to be at 21 years old or 15 years old, fantastic. If you need to keep working at something and you don't get to it till you're 47 years old, like Susan Doyle, the singer, that's okay too. She then hit her peak through her 50s. Always forgive yourself. Always stop and say, it's okay. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Don't be hard on yourself. Be aware of other people always. There is so much focus on how hard it is for autistic people that it's easy to forget it's hard for everybody. Life is hard for everybody. Everyone has different challenges. So it's best to be aware. Always think of others. Look for role models, people that can make good choices, and that can get you also out of your head and thinking about like how, you know, what do they do to get better? What can I do? Always get feedback from others. Ask for it. If people just give it to you, that can be kind of hurtful, but people do that. Whatever. It's just whatever people say, just kind of take it to mind, don't take it to heart, and then see if it applies to you or not. Keep moving toward your goal, and any sort of win you have, whether it's big or small to you or to somebody else, celebrate it. If it's something really small, you're proud of it, you want to go share it with a friend, do so. Good friends will know that you're proud and they'll celebrate with you, you know, but anything you do, any growth you make, be sure you celebrate it. I think this is the last slide. It is. So I'm going to stop share. And that is the end of the presentation.